Hey guys, welcome back to another masterclass. Today we're going to be just chatting about the squat, and we're going to be looking at the barbell squat. We're going to be looking at just the mechanics of what makes an effective and efficient squat technique. And these are kind of the tips and the cues that I would be sharing with you if we ever get a chance to work face to face. These are the things that I want you constantly thinking about and obviously going around in your head whenever you're lifting light, whenever you're lifting heavy, whenever you're going for body weight or with weight. Guys, these are the things that are always going through my mind, and I want them to be obviously reinforced in yours. So when it comes to the squat, all right, well, things we want to be thinking about obviously is making sure that we're looking for range of motion and we're looking for symmetry. They're the kind of probably the two most fundamental things that I look for in a good squat. Okay, we're looking for that nice position of the feet roughly underneath your hips. How wide, guys, it's all dependent on you. Okay, it really is. Depends on the length of your legs, it depends on the mobility of your hips, it depends on how often you perform squats. But essentially, roughly just outside of shoulder width apart, toes slightly pointed outwards. The elite, you'll see them having lovely neutral feet, but for us, slightly turned outwards. And then we're looking just to push the hips back and sit nice and deep into that squat. And we're looking for that nice optimal range of motion, right? So what does that look like? Guys, it's pretty much got to be at least chair height. So as you push your hips back, we sit nice and deep, whether we've got a bar across our back, across our front, we're holding a goblet in a goblet fashion with a dumbbell or kettlebell, it's going to be across the front, right? So for us, it's all about range of motion and then symmetry. So if you're in front of a mirror, in front of a reflective surface, or you're videoing yourself, what are we looking for? We're looking to obviously maintain that lovely neutral position as we come all the way down and all the way up. We're not allowing the load, the resistance, to change that squat. We're not looking, and that's obviously what we're looking to drill out of our body, is those imbalances. All right, but going back to the squat, huge cue that I really want you to think about is hips back. Okay, so with the bar on our shoulders, let's go for it. I want you to think about one of the big takeaways from today's masterclass is going to be thinking about initiating the movement with your hips. So what I mean by that is I don't want to see you bending your knees first. I want to see you breaking at the hips, then bending the knees. What that does is that puts the load into our hips, and then as we descend, the weight sits back into our heels, allows us to sit nice and deep into that squat, and then we drive out to full extension. All right, so I want to show that again. Hips back, then the knees bend. What that allows us to do, guys, is to allow us to load those key muscle groups, glutes, hamstrings, etc. And what it allows us not to do is to put the force into our knees, okay? And you'll often see that, and you watch people in the gym or watch the people that you train with sometimes, and you'll often see them kind of going knees first, and it just creates all these negative forces, these shearing loads across the knee, and it limits your range of motion. So always think breaking at the hip first, then descending down into that squat. All right, and if you struggle to find that optimal range of motion, adjust your feet. Yep. Sometimes it's just slight adjustment, and it will allow you to descend even further. Why is that important? Well, guys, it's because I want you to utilize. I want every rep to use maximal amount of work. I want maximal range of motion through the joint, because that's going to mean that we're using a lot more muscle tissue, which in turn is going to obviously create a lot more work, which is exactly what we're looking for to get the most out of every rep. All right, so big takeaway, hips back, initiate the movement with the hips. Second massive point, finish the rep off. Stand to full extension. So when you get that bar on your shoulders, you break at the hip, we sit nice and deep into that movement. As we drive up, get up, extend the hips through, squeeze your glutes, shoulders back, find full extension. What I don't want to see is us descending, coming up 3/4 of the way, and then descending straight away into it, because we're never actually engaging the glutes. We're never actually going to. The purpose of a good squat is to train the quads, the glutes, the hammies, pretty much everything, right? And if we don't find full extension through the hips, you never engage the glutes, you never bring that support through the lower back, all right? And then you imagine if we start loading that up more and more and more, all you're doing is you're loading your lower back instead of loading those glutes, which are designed for that work, all right? So can you see how the small things make massive differences? So range of motion, all right? Hips initiating the movement. We're looking to then obviously find full extension. And then guys, last thing, symmetry. When you're in front of the mirror and in front of a reflective surface, or when you're sending those videos through, guys, make sure, have a look. Are you starting to track left or right? Are you starting to, as we increase the load, do you see that you're kind of just beginning to drift? Guys, that's the stuff where you stop for a moment, reset, and re-pattern it, retrain that movement, okay? Because even in a bilateral movement, like a squat, 2 feet on the ground, guys, you can still look to, you've got to find those imbalances, and what we're looking to do is train those out of the body. And obviously the more resistance we use, the more load that we use, obviously the bigger those imbalances are potentially going to be. And what we're looking to do is constantly find balance within the body, and a squat is a fantastic pattern to do that. So guys, I hope you found something useful there. Guys, obviously when it comes to the squat, one of the best exercises you can do, we related it to the barbell today. It could easily be done with we're doing the same thing with a kettlebell, with a dumbbell. And for us, again, thinking about those simple things, range of motion, adjusting the feet, hips initiating the movement, but pushing the hips back, allows us to load the glutes. Finding full extension at the top of every rep, open those hips up, squeeze those glutes. And then obviously symmetry. Make sure we're really identifying those imbalances, drilling them out of our body. And guys, you're gonna have a very effective program, especially a squat program.